Workers at an Iranian nuclear site turned off 2 surveillance cameras on Wednesday. Iran says it will disconnect more. The equipment is operated by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. Its director says Tehran is making a mistake.
27 cameras are being removed. This, of course, poses a serious challenge to our ability to continue working there and to confirm the correctness of Iran's declaration under JCPOA.
Tehran says its action is in response to criticism from the IAEA. The UN nuclear watchdog says Iran has failed to explain uranium particles at some of its sites. The latest dispute is a setback for those hoping to revive the 2015 nuclear deal. It was designed to limit Tehran's nuclear ambitions in exchange for sanctions relief. But in May 2018, then-President Donald Trump withdrew the US and began reimposing sanctions on Iran. The following year, former Iranian President Hassan Rouhani told the remaining signatories his government would reduce its commitments every 60 days until they honoured their part of the deal. Iran has since limited access to its nuclear sites.
They cannot expect Iran to fulfill and deliver beyond its commitments. All safeguard-related cameras and commitments by Iran are being operated and they are underway. Iran is not stopping them. Iran is only stopping those voluntary measures that were supposed to be implemented under the nuclear deal.
The IAEA chief has described the situation as tense, with negotiations at a low point and both sides blaming the other for a lack of progress. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in our reporter, Dominic Kane, who's monitoring this from Berlin for us. Really interesting comments from the IAEA chief, Dominic. So what more should we read into them?
One of the perhaps most standout comments from Mr. Grossi at that news conference was in response to a question from a journalist saying, is the JCPOA dead? Is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action dead? That nuclear deal signed so long ago. And he said, well, in the space of the next 4 weeks, we'll find out it could be a fatal blow to hopes of the restoration of that deal. Let's remember the chronology of what's happened here. Just a few days ago, Mr. Grossi was saying that his agency had really serious concerns about 3 specific sites in Iran where it believes that uranium has been enriched. It wants to know what's happened to that uranium and indeed to the devices that were used to enrich the uranium. The Iranian government has not given any kind of assurances A, to the material, where it is, nor indeed B, to what's happened to the equipment used to enrich it. As a consequence of that, the IAEA put through a resolution on Wednesday evening which deplored that situation, called on the Iranians to return to compliance with the conditions they'd agreed to sign up to in the first place. That didn't happen. As a consequence, we have the news conference which Mr. Grossi gave, and we have the Iranian government making that announcement about the removal of those 27 further cameras at relevant sites. And there is also the fact that the Iranian government has said it's going to install new high-grade centrifuges called cascades at some of its facilities, all of which shows the level of difference, of distance between the two sides. And if we are to believe Mr. Grossi, then in his opinion, within the next 4 weeks, that nuclear deal, or any hopes of reviving it, could be dealt a fatal blow.
Dominic Kane in Berlin with the latest. Thanks very much, Dominic.